Well, hello. Welcome to the tutorial on the Smart Reading Curriculum. I'm going to be walking through a lot of the different sheets of what we go through with Smart Reading, and I know a lot of it seems very simple for us, but the main goal is to really instill a value of metacognition, which means thinking about thinking. I know it sounds weird, but a lot of us process reading or chunking or decoding, even through literacy, all these things that we already assume and we think about, and this program helps those who struggle with it to get a lot stronger. So let me draw your attention to the first little bit, just right around here. uh, all these things are probably some of the most important areas that we need to define before we start reading. uh, so let me go through it quickly. We've got goals right over here. Then we've got accessing prior knowledge. We also have predictions. Sorry, I sort of went over that a little bit. And questions that we'll have. And this is all done prior to reading. When we are reading, that's when we deal with chunks. Oops, sorry. Let me start moving all this. That's when we start dealing with these different chunks. And that is done when we've read a paragraph for a little bit. So you divide your reading into maybe thirds, and that's when we stop and chunk and we start thinking about what we've just read. So let's go back to the top. What are goals? Goals are going to be set. Basically, what are you intending for the reader to have? What is your goal at the end? So if we're doing a science project, for example, and we're doing the rock cycle, maybe one of our goals is what is the rock cycle, or what are the different stages of the rock cycle. If we're doing something along the civil rights movement, who was the catalyst or the main individual spearheading the civil rights movement? That can be your goal. So parents, you guys are going to have to cheat just a little bit trying to figure out what should be the goal for for Emma, and what you guys are trying to find out what you want to do for her in different things. So just to clarify, smart reading is done with anything with text. So over the break, you're going to be helping her out with the reading. I know she's got a couple projects that needs to be done, and one of them could be science. And so if you find some websites, you're going to pre-read a little bit of the website, or just cheat, read the last paragraph, or at the end of each paragraph, see what those goals would be. Try and figure out maybe one goal at least, or two if you can. If you can't get two, that's fine. We get that one goal so that we can always think about what we have. Okay, so let's move on to accessing prior knowledge. What that basically is what do you know? Tell me, what do you know? And then you just brainstorm. Just brainstorm. Think of all the different things that she knows about it. So let's talk about the rock cycle again. What do you know about rocks? What kind of rocks do you have? Where do rocks come from? Where have you seen rocks? What is their texture? What are all the different things that you could talk about? What color are they? When have you experienced rocks? Have you skipped rocks along a pond? Have you thrown rocks at people? Have people thrown rocks at you? Anything that you can understand about rocks. That's what accessing prior knowledge is. And you just get as many points as possible. So you have this base, and the educational term is called scaffolding. So whatever we can just compound on top of each other so that we can try and figure out what rocks are and where we can go from. Okay, let me just erase all this stuff. Next, we can move on to predictions. Now you're going to ask, what do you predict from this text? What do you think is going to happen? And predictions can definitely be wrong, and that's totally fine. We just want to know what Emma is thinking at that point. So what are some of the predictions? And you can just ask her, what are the predictions? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to be that catalyst for the civil rights movement? What do you think the rock cycle could be? Just guess. Could you guess as to when the civil rights movement was? Can you guess as to what the rock cycle could possibly be, or what kind of rocks are involved? And then let's move on to questions. What questions do you have right now? Who was the person who said that I have a dream? What is Plymouth Rock? Or that can go for both things. What are rocks? What is the rock cycle? And it has to be more specific for questions, things that we can think about that we want to answer, not necessarily the goal that we want, but maybe smaller goals. Questions like, how do some rocks get really big versus some rocks are as small as sand? All the different questions that you could possibly be encountering. Some of the other things that you're going to do is the circulatory system, digestive system. How does chicken absorb into my stomach? Or why are chips so bad for us versus eating vegetables? Those are some questions that we could possibly be trying to figure out in our research. All right. So now that we've got that, I'm going to talk about chunks in the next little bit. Um, so we've got three chunks. We've got this chunk right here. We've got chunk 1, and we've got chunk 2. And you can either fill it blank or you can put see other page. And I'm going to show you about 8 or 9 different pages that you can chunk with Emma, or Emma will be able to do by herself, maybe with some guiding at first. Let's go to the back. And here we go with chunk 3. And again, you're going to be breaking up the text. If it's in 3 paragraphs, then maybe you can do 1 chunk per paragraph. If it's 10 pages, then every few pages just stop and do a chunk. And all the chunks will be different. Alright, so I'll talk about the chunks in a second. Let's end off your reading. Once you are finished your text, now we're going to be thinking about what we just learned, and we're going to be reflecting. Now, reflecting has a huge part in academics, and some students just think when they read, they answer the questions, they're done. But when you reflect on your thinking and reflect on your chunks, you reflect on your goals, it actually helps students compound their memory. It helps them understand a lot more, and it brings them to another level, another step in their learning. So I just want to draw steps because you probably are tired of listening to my voice. So it brings them from one step to another and helps them understand their what they've just read. And it's really important that they're fluent with what they read. If they're not fluent, if you notice that Emma is stopping every so often trying to figure out all the words, maybe help read it to her, or you guys just read it 2, 3, 4, 5 times until she is fluent in what she's reading and also understands the words. Okay, so here, the quick write, I won't spend too long. Quick write is you just time her for 1 minute or 2 minutes and she just writes. Writes about what she just read, writes about what she's thinking about, writes about her questions, just anything that comes to her mind. And that's just a quick write. So she can reflect what is in that short-term base that she's understanding right now in her mind, and she just wants to just spit it all out. What are those things that are just on her mind? And give her 2 minutes and you just time it and you can just have fun with that. All right, there we go. And now let's go down to new ideas, connections, and questions. Spend maybe a minute or so. What new ideas did you get? And you can list them out. Did you make any connections personally? Did you find that, oh yeah, now I understand how rock comes from different parts of the earth? Or you can talk about, wow, I remember I went to see a volcano in Hawaii, and they had magma and lava and all the magnetic or all these different lava rocks, and questions that you might have. So what questions have been left unanswered? And you can write those down there. Let me see if I can just erase this really quickly. All right, now we're going to go to I noticed. With I noticed, I want you to go through the different things that Emma has thought to herself and said, I noticed that when I was reading, this helped me. So what are the things that she noticed about her learning? I enjoyed seeing pictures, or I enjoyed when we read it 2, 3 times so I can understand more. What did she notice about her learning? Okay, so the main part, what did she notice about her learning? Okay, that's the main thing. Now, goals for next time. Now, obviously you don't know what you're going to read next, so based on what she has already noticed about her learning, what are her goals for next time? Maybe it's finding not finding websites that she doesn't understand. Like Wikipedia can be very intimidating. Maybe she can find like a kids Wikipedia or Nat Geo for kids, or like National Geographic for kids. Just things that she can understand more. So those may be things that she should tuck away and understand. So goals for next time is a good thing just to lean on for the next time when she does this. And again, metacognition is thinking about thinking. Her ability just to understand her learning and where she needs to go next is very, very important in smart reading. I know that it seems tedious and it seems like we're just repeating, but without this foundation of just understanding how we learn as learners, as readers, as writers, and processors, then we just continue to just decode words and we just answer questions, but that doesn't really help Emma in the long run. We need to have strategies in place and a foundation in place that we can draw from. And I know that when I was working with Emma, it was very, and like I was saying, it was very difficult at first because she didn't have a lot of things to grab on for the tools in terms of accessing prior knowledge. But now she's getting better at, okay, well, I know now that I've got to start thinking about all these connections I've got to make with my life, or I've got to start thinking about all these other texts that I've been trying to figure out. All right, now we're going to go to parts that will help you for chunk 3. And I know that Emma had a difficult time when she was by herself because she forgot some of them, but I've given you lots of sheets that you can just pick up for each chunk. You don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do all of them in a row. You can definitely choose your favorite ones, photocopy more if you like them, and if you don't like them, you don't have to do any. But for each chunk, I would highly recommend that you do choose one of these. And if you find that you run out and you just want to do it right in this space right here, for example, like one of them is thinking like a photographer, and it's just a lot about drawing. Here is a stick person, and you just want to do that, then you can do that as well. All right, so let's go to the first worksheet that we can use. It's the 4 quadrants. Let's say that we were reading something about the digestive system. Okay, so let's read the intro of the digestive system, and we learn about the crunching of food with your teeth, and it gets there's some enzymes that are absorbed with your tongue, and then it goes down your esophagus, and it goes into your stomach. It gets absorbed even more, and we stop. That was the first paragraph. So what is something that we could draw? Maybe you can draw even just teeth. This is a horrible drawing of teeth on my iPad. Let's just do that. So teeth, and then we'll just leave it at there because later on we're going to talk about a reflection. We can talk about what the teeth are and what they represent. Sounds. What does something sound like? So we can say like crunching, right? Crunching. And what does it smell like? Well, food smells really nice. And you can just write it all out, or you can draw something. Texture of food, sometimes it's squishy, whatever. And the motion, what motion is being displayed? Like the crunching and gnawing of your teeth, or peristalsis, when, well, you probably don't learn that in grade 5, when the food goes down your esophagus. Okay, so whatever you're noticing with sound, smells, texture, and motion, that's what happens in here right there. And then here's some words right down here. These are words. That's what it's saying. What do you think the author is saying? Or what do you think they're thinking? Or what do you wonder about? Any words that pop into your head that are said that you think about or what you wonder about. Any words. So hungry, just something like that. Why does that? And then you just ask Emma, why do you put hungry? And then she'll be able to tell you. Other thing like dentist. Dentist could come up because you're thinking about teeth. Okay, dentist. There we go. Because you're thinking about teeth. And now you can go back to this one, feelings. Now, how do you feel about what we just talked about? Feelings. Well, it kind of makes me feel gross that we're talking about food going down that way, right? And the disgusting things that happen when you're chewing and digesting. And so all of this whole sheet, and every sheet is designed that you're thinking more than what the words are saying. You're pulling from different aspects of your learning, different aspects of your experiences. Everything gets pulled into that one paragraph. And that's really important because now you're putting all these not just memories, but your knowledge is going to work, and you're working out your brain to try and make more connections that whatever you're reading sticks. Now, I noticed what? So now you're going to start filling out, I noticed, and you can just, write a couple sentences. What did you notice when you were writing? What did you notice when you were reading? Anything. And so now your goal right here, your goal is the next time you do the 4 quadrants, you'll be able to do this goal that you just asked for. So maybe your goal is, I couldn't figure out something for texture very quickly. So next time I do this sheet, I should try and really think about texture while I'm reading the text. You see how everything sort of plays all in? So this goal is not the ultimate goal of the reading. It's just the next time you do this specific a specific sheet of 4 quadrants. And I folded just 8.5 by 11 paper over each of the sheets. Maybe you can even write your goal there. So next time you go to that sheet, you see that next goal. Let's see, I don't know how to clear the whole space. I apologize that it's very, very messy. So basically, I had a sheet that just separated all the sheets together, and it was just a white 8.5 by 11, right? So imagine that this is that sheet. I apologize, it is so messy, it's driving me crazy, but I don't know how to erase the whole sheet. So you can just put your first goal was whatever. And then the next time you use this sheet, you don't have to do it right away. You have to see, oh yeah, that's right. I needed to make sure that I'm understanding texture. So next time you start reading, texture is something that you want to be able to be faster at. Okay. Now, here's the next chunk. And I probably won't spend as much with this one because it's 4 quadrants. It's just a lot simpler. So it's the exact same thing, but simpler because there's no pictures. Yeah. All right. The reason why I won't spend a lot of time is because now you know the premise, and you can just see that they basically go along the exact same lines, but hits on different ways of learning. So now this one's a little bit more not empirical, but there's a lot more structure to this. So if we were reading, again, let's go through let's go instead of the digestive system, the circulatory system. We read a paragraph of the circulatory system. Okay, so now what's important? Let's jot down some points. Even if they're 4 points or 2 points each, so you can have 8 points down here or just 1, 2, 3, 4 points. You just write it down. Circulatory system. What's important? You can put blood. Just like that. Blood rushes, or not rushes, but goes inside the heart and gets pumped out to the rest of the body. Other things about the circulatory system, you can talk about hemoglobin, because that's really important. You can talk about veins, you can talk about arteries, and yeah, so you can talk about what's important, and then why is it important? Why? Because blood carries oxygen around, and deoxygenated blood around your body. And it brings it to the lungs and helps us basically live. Hemoglobin is what they call blood. So you can talk about all the different facts about hemoglobin, why it's important. You talk about veins bringing blood to the artery or to the heart, and arteries pumping it away from the heart. Okay, and now over here, talk about the different questions or new ideas and connections that you had based on what you just talked about. So blood, what questions do you have? Is it really true that blood is blue inside your body? And then that could be a question. And then when it's outside, it's red. Why is that? New ideas. Wow, I didn't know that blood was that important. Or connections. I remember when I cut myself, I was bleeding profusely. So whatever, you don't have to choose all of them and do it. Just choose one of them in each box. So let me erase this. So you can just choose one of them in each box. And as a parent now, and you're just going through this, there's no right or wrong way. Just as long as you're going through this sheet, if you want Emma to answer all of them, that's fine. If you don't want her to answer all of them, she doesn't have to, right? Just choose one each and then double up on another one. Same thing here. I noticed, and then talk about what she noticed about her learning. And next time, again, here's your goal. Next time, when you are doing this sheet, what should she do? And then again, write it out on that sheet of paper that was here. Right? Next time, so that next time that before you read, you can know what chunk you're going to do beforehand. And so you can read what your goal is in this chunk, and then you'll be able to think about that. Next. Word association. We did a little bit of it in the four quadrants. So instead of circulatory, digestive, I think you're doing respiratory. I can't remember the project, but if you are doing respiratory, that's breathing. So what are the things? Lungs. Lungs come out. Hiccups, maybe, is a word that comes to your head. Out of breath. That's actually 3 words. Out of, maybe we should just do panting. Let's see. How do I erase that? Panting, because you're out of breath. So all these different words that pop up into your head and then generate as much, this is what it says, and do that, just words, and that's it. And then write down, well, I noticed that different words based on my memory, because I've experienced this, are the first ones that popped into my head. Or because there were some words that were difficult in the text that I didn't know what hiccups were, and so I wrote down hiccups. Goal next time. Again, same thing. What is the goal of next time you do word association? Again, another what's important and why. This time is just connections and new ideas. Instead of connections, new ideas, and questions, I believe was the other one. 1 point each. Or if you want to do 2 points, you can go ahead too. And then just talk about why. Alright, next. And this is the exact same thing. Key ideas. Now it's just broken up into, you have to do questions and why. So key ideas. So key idea number 1. The digestive tract is very important for the absorption of food. 2. Digestive tract doesn't just start at the mouth and end in the stomach. There's a lot of stuff that happens in between. 3. Enzymes break down, I think it's starches inside your mouth. 4. The tongue is an important part of the digestive tract as well. Things like that, and you just have to ask questions. So now she's going to wonder, what questions can I ask about the digestive tract regarding, I think this one, well, I know the 4th one was about the mouth. Why is the mouth one of the most important pieces? Right? Well, the mouth is actually the strongest muscle in our body. So why is the mouth strongest muscle in our body? Well, because we break down a lot of stuff. And that goes the same with teeth. Teeth are the hardest bones in our body. Why is that? And connections. And so this is a lot more reflective and personal. I remember when I lost my wisdom teeth, or I lost my baby teeth, and I couldn't chew on certain things. And so my tongue had to do a lot of the work to chew and break down food. And so these are the different connections that we had. And again, what did you notice? And next time I will, and do that. We've got a couple more, or 2 or 3 more. 3 more, I think. Gossip. I know that gossip is bad. It was funny, and I was told, Emma, who didn't know what gossip was, she's so sweet. Have you heard of gossip? Well, it's bad, but you're going to be doing this one. Gossip is good in this one. I think she gave me a furrowed eyebrow because she had no idea what I was talking about. It says, go out and selectively search important points. And you're going to have to help her out with this one. So it has partner 1. If you guys want to do something fun, whether it's reading about something that you enjoy, or any other kind of reading, you'll be able to have Emma, maybe you should have a separate piece of paper. Emma writes down what she has. On a separate piece of paper, you write down what you have, and maybe Steve can write down what he has, and then you share together. And in this time, she'll read out all the stuff that she wrote to you, okay? And then afterwards, you say what you wrote, and then she writes down what you wrote. And then Steve writes, or talks about what he wrote down. And then Emma writes down what Steve wrote down. And then at the bottom here, you got your reflections, and then your goals for this one, again, for gossip. Last page. Thinking like a photographer. Easy peasy. She is a great artist, much better than me, and so she can draw whatever she would like based on what she was reading about. And you can do at least 2. And if you want to do all of them, you can do that too. If you want to just do a few of them, 1, 2, 3, or even 4, you can do that too. Totally up to you as a parent. You can just say, my goal for you is to do at least 2. If you want to do more, great. My goal for you is to do all 6. And if that's what you wanted to do, fine. And then at the end, she has to reflect on what she drew. Last page, IQ. Now this breaks down the 4-quadrant section of pictures, feelings, sensory details, everything, and images and pictures or whatever. So that 4 quadrants all in 1 quadrant. Okay? So your 4 corners are all in 1 quadrant, but then the addition to this is she now connects questions about those 4 quadrants. You see that? So there's a lot of, again, metacognition. Thinking about thinking. And imagine doing this over and over with all the different texts. Yes, it's going to take so much longer to do projects. For example, if we were to do Wordly Wise Lesson E, it would take close to an hour, if not more, if we were using smart reading. But I think it's very, very necessary for Emma just to slow down now and think about her thinking. Again, metacognition. Instead of just reading and she has no idea what she's talking about or reading about, and she's just decoding words and trying to answer questions, that does her no good. If she's able to connect with a different layer of understanding and connect and scaffold all that she knew about certain subjects. Again, about the digestive system, circulatory system, even just briefly asking her, she doesn't know a lot about it. So this is a great way just to start bringing it into the fold now. She has no idea what a respiratory system is, but she knows what lungs are. So now she will compound and understand, okay, well, lungs connect with this. Oh, wow, lungs also connect with the circulatory system, like the blood. And so that connects with that. Oh, okay, well, that all makes sense now. And it starts connecting, for the lack of a better word. I'm just kind of tired. Bottom, we've got the reflections again and noticed. And that basically wraps it all up. And so all of these sheets, all the different, I think 8 or 9 that I've photocopied for you, the different types, just choose one each for each chunk. And just take your time with it. Do you have to finish it all in one sitting? No. Will it take a lot longer to do all of this stuff? Yes. But my goal was, when I first talked to you about Emma, is to get her reading and understanding and comprehension up to where I feel like it should be. And this will definitely help her. Don't rush this stuff. If the projects don't get finished, I totally understand. You don't have to rush the project and sacrifice smart learning or smart reading just to finish the project. Again, I'll look at it and I'll assess it and I'll evaluate it, but the most important part is the smart learning. Well, maybe I should choose red. There you go. Is the smart learning. Because I think that's where she will benefit the most, and that's what she will need for the future. Not some summer project I gave her, but it's all this connecting, being able to think, being able to connect her learning with other texts that she's learned, being able to connect it with the world that she lives in, being able to connect it with herself. All of that stuff has to happen. And for us, we can take 2 seconds and think about it. But for Emma, she needs a little bit more time, and these tools allow her to reduce that amount of time. All right, I've talked a lot. This is probably about a 15-20 minute video. I'll give you the heads up beforehand. Have a great summer. Feel free to text or email me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I would love to just help Emma in her journey to being a greater learner. I won't be able to answer it ASAP or immediately, but I am there to support you guys and help Emma take that next step up. So with that being said, I am done.